Okay, so I'm going to show you a little uh, demo just focusing on image scanning and resizing. This is an image I scanned from a book. It comes in through my scanner at 6 by 9 inches at 300 dpi, which makes it 2,000 pixels by about 3,000 pixels and 17 megabytes. That's a lot. So we don't want it to be quite that big. One thing you want to make sure you do is turn on your ruler so that you can see how big your image is. This can be done through the view and use rulers, or you can use Control R. You can change it from pixels to inches and back again, but you want to keep it at pixels because you're dealing with work that's going to be displayed on the computer and not on work that's going to be printed. So based on this, we've got a 2,000 by 3,000 pixel image, which is much too large, but I'd like to keep that for my archives and for my personal reference because it's much better quality if you can zoom in on it. It's not all blurry and nasty. It's a pretty good image. All right. So the next thing you want to do is to go to Image, and I'm using Photoshop CC so that you guys have a similar experience. Image size, you want to make sure this is locked. You want to change your resolution first off to 72. This will often, and change this to pixels. This will often bring the pixels down well within the range of what you need for your submission. Say OK. Just going to scroll in. If you need to use the tools to do it, you can do it that way. I have a walkthrough on tools as well, on preferences to help you with that. If you wanted to, this happens to be kind of a sepia tone image, but if you're coming through as a funny color and you don't want it to be a funny color, then you need to go to Image, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation, and drop the saturation down to 0 and or less negative 100, and that will take your image back to black and white if it was originally black and white. If it's originally a color image, then you want to keep it as close to the original image as possible. You can adjust the lightness if you need to, but it's usually not necessary. The other thing that you can do, scanned image or photographed image in particular, is to go to Image Adjustments, Levels. I like to use levels because it shows you a little histogram, which is actually a diagram that shows you where your pixels are located. So you see there's not much pixels in the very dark and not any pixels in the very light. So if you bring those down to bracket the light and the dark, then you get a better contrast image, and you're not really losing any data because there's no pixels in those ranges. In that range, you can move the middle bar a little bit too, but be careful not to over process your image. You don't want to lose detail. Say OK. Now we've got our image down to the right size. We've got it cleaned up as far as color goes. We didn't need to straighten it, so that's a good thing. You can crop it if you like, but I've already cropped this image, so there's nothing showing around the edges, no paper or binder marks or anything like that. And save it as your sample for whatever purpose. JPEG, large file. Check your preview. Check your size here. It should be less than, it'd be 200K or less, especially if you're doing a lot of images, so that when you make your PDF, it is not going to blow up in your face. Say OK, and you are good to go.